your train coming up that low-lying section of track behind us, and you should smile and wave because just as you're taking pictures of them, I guarantee you they are taking pictures of us. We are coming up to that wooden trestle bridge I showed you from below. So the train is going to curve over to your left, and you'll get a gorgeous view of the train as it goes over that wooden trestle bridge and into our first and shorter of the two tunnels today. 250 feet long, very dark inside, so be prepared for that. And as we go over that bridge, there will be a very steep drop off on your left. So if you don't like heights, right now would be the perfect time to admire the upholstery inside your car. And also as we go over on your right, there will be small but very beautiful waterfalls.
Is it right? Yeah.
I don't have one, but I can give you the plastic to this, right? Look at this spider right there. It's a big plastic spider. One of our engineers has a sense of humor.
Across from us is known as Mine Mountain, and that's not because there was any gold found there, because there wasn't any gold found there or anywhere else in this area. Skagway was known as the gateway to the north, so those gold rush seekers would come up to Skagway. From there they'd have a choice of two trails. They could pick the Chilkoot Trail, which comes off Dyea, about 15 miles away from Skagway, or they could pick the White Pass Trail, which we're most closely following along today. Now, if they picked the White Pass Trail, they'd have 20 miles from Skagway to the summit. Once they were able to cross the summit and that Canadian border, they'd have another 20 miles from there to Lake Bennett, and at Lake Bennett, they would build a boat, fill all their things with it, and then travel 550 miles up the Yukon River before they finally reach those gold fields. So no, there wasn't any gold found found in that mountain across from us, but there was silver found and mined for about 6 years in the 1920s. Transported over to this railway using tramways and buckets. It has been retired, but it is a great hangout spot for mountain goats, so look very closely and you might be able to spot some. From here they look like very tiny, tiny little cream-colored dots, and if you see a moving cream-colored dot, well then it's probably a goat, and you should let everyone in your car know. And if you're having a hard time spotting those goats, a much easier view to over your left shoulder, you'll see all the way back down to Skagway Harbor through the mountain pass. You might even be able to spot some cruise ships down there. This is a beautiful view known as Inspiration Point. Is known as Dead Horse Gulch. So, as I said, there were 2 trails you could have chosen, and if you picked the White Pass Trail, it was probably because it was more accessible to pack animals, but not nearly so accessible as it was advertised. So, those horses used were shipped up from Seattle and bought at sky-high prices by the miners, and most of them were not in good enough condition for such a difficult journey. Most of their owners worked them to death, so many of them died from broken legs, broken backs, falling off cliffs, or even starving to death. The ones that made it to the end of their journey were most often abandoned at the end of it, because feeding and keeping a worn-down horse was more expensive than just getting rid of them. So nowadays, if you see pictures of the White Pass Trail, you'll probably see lots of dead horses in them. And the White Pass Trail also became known as Dead Horse Trail. We don't say this to sadden or depress you, just to give you a very realistic picture of what it was like for all those gold rush seekers so many years ago. We are coming up upon our famous steel cantilever bridge. So when this bridge was first constructed in 1901, it was the tallest railroad bridge in the world of its kind, standing at 215 feet. Now, if it's making you a little nervous looking at it, don't be. We're not going over this bridge today. It was retired in 1969. Instead, we'll be going over a second bridge constructed to take its place, and as we go over it, we'll get a great view of that steel cantilever. And then we'll go into our second and longer of the two tunnels today. This one is 670 feet long, also very dark inside, so we love to call it Opportunity Tunnel. So you might just want to snuggle up next to that loved one and give him a smooch. Just be sure that the two of you are on a first name basis already. left end down, you can see that trench that houses part of that actual original trail used by all those thousands of stampeders as they made their way up to those Klondike gold fields. You can see a sign marking it saying Trail of 98, and that pathway is about as wide as the aisleway in your car, and there was two-way traffic on it, some going up and others going back. That was because in order to cross the canal Canadian border, you were required to have 2,000 pounds of goods. The Canadians were afraid that with all these people coming up through Canada, they wouldn't bring enough supplies with them, and then they would end up starving to death in that snow. So everyone that came up had to have 2,000 pounds from a list of goods. The main problem was you couldn't carry more than 50 pounds on your back at a time, so you're going up and back not once or twice, but upwards of 40 times before you rounded up all your goods and could finally cross that border. And remember, you were nowhere near done. You had another 20 miles to Lake Bennett, and then once you built your boat at Lake Bennett, you had another 550 miles to go up that Yukon River. Your left, you're going to see two flags waving, the U.S. and Canadian flags, and in between them a bronze obelisk marking the international border. So, yes, we've made it into Canada, everyone! So, congratulations! Feel free to celebrate quietly amongst yourselves. And you'll see a sign saying White Top Elevation, 2,888 feet. And then 5 flags waving in order they'll go U.S., Alaska, British Columbia, the Yukon Territory, and Canada. So all this means we're crossing the border, and after this you'll see a large flat expanse of snow that is starting to melt away. You can see water poking out of it. That is Summit Lake. It is not too long, but it is very deep. It is about 100 feet deep in parts, and there are fish that live in it. It's full of Arctic grayling and lake trout. tormented valley. So all of these rocks and hills you see around here were prehistorically covered by a glacier. And you can see all those tiny little baby trees growing out of the rocks. Those trees aren't babies at all. Some of them were here all the way back when those gold rush seekers came through over 100 years ago. They're just small because they're completely covered in snow half the year. They have very high mile-per-hour winds going against them, and they only have a couple inches of soil in order to get a root structure. So they do stay small, and so to be sturdy against all the harsh winter weather conditions they have to live through. British Columbia, just a few short miles. And when we get there, we'll have the Canadian official board the train and check everyone's passports. When that happens, all the restrooms on board the train will be closed. So if you feel like you're going to need to use the bathroom anytime soon, now would be a great time to do it. And so, if you'd like to, now would be a nice time to do so because they will be closed once we're just a few miles further in. Traveling through here, you might have noticed some old telephone poles without any telephone lines. Well, these were put up during World War II, and there was a military base further up into Alaska, so they put these up in order to connect with that base. But once World War II was over and that base was no longer used, they no longer needed these telephone lines, so they just lay there for many years, unmaintained, unused, to the point that the line started to sag quite a bit. And this became a nuisance to much of the wildlife that lived around here, particularly the moose and caribou. It got tangled up in their antlers, so to avoid this problem, they had a crew come through and collect up all the wires. However, they left the poles intact. Broken down piles of wood as we've traveled through here. Those used to be snow fences, so when this train ran year-round, they were up to keep the snow from coming onto the tracks. However, now the train doesn't run year-round. It only runs from May to September in complete accordance with our cruise ship season. And so instead of using those snow fences, we just let the snow collect on the tracks all winter long, and then we have a big, huge rotary snowplow that comes through and clears the tracks in April, just before our season starts in May. inside from those exterior platforms. So if you see anyone outside in either end of your car,
Say that it's
if you
raining
could
now.
open the door, wave them in, and tell them that everyone needs to come inside and take their seats for the rest of the tour, that'd be real helpful. I'll be making an important announcement soon. Been able to make it inside their cars at this time, so now all those bathrooms on board the train are closed. So everyone needs to come out of those and take their seats. You need to get your passports out and open to the picture page. So get those passports out and have them open. Take off any hats or sunglasses, anything that will disturb the likeness between you and your picture. Keep those aisleways clear and be quiet so you can hear any instructions they may have for you. Please put your cameras away at this time. You are not allowed to take pictures of customs agents. They take this very seriously. They've been known to delete pictures or throw away cameras altogether. So just to be safe, put your cameras away at this time.